this.
गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे ठा ठा करके
सुनिया कि तेरी गेम बड़ी स्ट्रॉन्ग पंगा ले आनी तू मुंडे नाल रॉन्ग मेरे उत्ते तेरा चलना नहीं टैग टैग दिल रखा विच बुलेट प्रूफ जैकेट मुंडा देसी ना मैं बर्गर बॉय बंदा मार दे मैं पुछदा नहीं वाई टेलीस्कोप विच होया जेड़ा फोकस हेडशॉट निशाना एडा चौकस बाकी आया पैराशूट ते like I'm falling out of love जीवे तेरी सोचा तो अब जीवे तेरा चलना ही
गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे ठा ठा करके
Oh boy, don't cry. तेरी बातों से तू लगता है हाय कर ले तू चाहे जितनी भी ट्राई तेरे जैसे कई आए I'm a queen, मेरा सीन करे बात मेरी I'm16 नॉकआउट करूं दिल I'm so mean तू भी बचेगा नहीं कर ले यकीन तेरी गेम को मैं रूल करूं ऐसी बातें ना फजूल करूं बिना मेरा चिकन देना कभी हार ना कबूल करूं कभी हार ना कबूल करूं
तेरी अखियां दी गोलियां भी सह गया तेनू लगेया कि तेरे ते मैं रह गया and you thought you knocked me out मैं तो समझ बंद करन लई बह गया एडा सौखा नहीं कुड़ीए हराना मैनू 10 साल तो मैं जानदा ज़माना मैनू मेरे लिखने दा एहो जिहा स्टाइल जिवें हत्थ विच पड़िया मैं PubG Mobile ठाठा लिखां गाने राउंड जिवें खाली करा गल सीधी सीधी करा ना ख्याली करा मेरा स्वैग देसी मुंडा मैं ओरिजिनल कदी फ्लैक्स कुछ बन के ना जाली करा बैकी है पैराशूट ते like I'm falling out of love जीवे तेरी सोचा तो अब जीवे तेरा चलना नहीं
गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे कुड़ी ठा करके गोली अखियां न मारे ठा ठा करके
Game over.
Team QWERTY in this one. Exactly, one of the most experienced lineups when we talk about this name and the game that they play, right? We talk about Khan, one of the most impressive IGLs, and that is not just it. With a player like Rahman, right? They know what they are doing. QWERTY knows what he's doing. I mean, in my mind, it still comes down to 2 seasons back, his AWM 1v3s that he did in the final circles. It just comes down to his aim, his understanding of the game, and well, his execution onto the game. But well, it's not just that.
Exactly, it's not just that because Rahman is not going to be alone this time. This time he has gravity as well. A new lad who has been firing on all cylinders and has been phenomenal in the team's run during the qualifiers.
But the only bad thing that might as well just come up from the team is if this energy falls down, the team falls down. And that's one thing that I believe they'll have to work on.
Well, hopefully that doesn't happen this time, and for that we wish good luck to Team QWERTY for their match. 3X Esports.
Well, definitely. A team that we have seen the sheer gun power in the recent qualifiers. So a team known as IAD had the real gun power. Apart from that, if I see any team that can match the sheer aggression, it is going to be a 3X Esports.
I think the 3X just represents their gun skills inside of the game. But let's not forget Miracle and Ali. The duo is also super amazing to watch. I feel like these two have capabilities of taking down entire 4-man rosters all by themselves.
But we need not to forget it is a new lineup. It's a complete new team. And coming into a PMPL, you need to have a lot of experience. So I hope once they progress in the complete PMPL series, they gain this experience all throughout.
And for that, we'll be watching this team very closely, watching their matches, watching individual performances as well. But to 3X Esports, we wish them good luck for the PMPL.
PMPL exclusively for Pakistan. A chance to push your limits. The squads are ready to turn their dreams into reality.
It's our chance to reach the biggest.
It's time to enter the dawn of new champions.
Let the action begin.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the final day of the first super weekend of the PubG Mobile Pro League Pakistan Spring 2022. Of course, before we have the event started, a huge shout out to Oppo, who are of course PubG Mobile Pakistan Esports official smartphone partners. As we head along to the day, joining along with me is of course going to be Lakshay as we head in to yet another fresh day. What are you expecting, mate?
Dude, again, when it comes down to summarizing day 1 and day 2 of the Super Weekend, it has been absolute chaos and mayhem that's been created in the lobby. So when it comes down to final day of the Super Weekend, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the teams that find themselves on the bottom of that leaderboard. I mean, when the day started off yesterday, we had FMX R3D walk away with a chicken dinner. An amazing turn of events for their side. But as the day progressed on, they were not able to sustain that sort of a lead that they created. So today I'm hoping that the few teams from the second page are able to just bring that lead forward and then sustain that lead as they progress on through the day.
So I think, long story short, you would want the teams on the bottom half to rise up and get some position in the higher order is, I think, what you want to say. And yeah, of course, we would love to see that, especially a few of the names that we do have, Magnus, Regicide, who showed some promising signs yesterday, but eventually, still they've got to find their way through that kill department that they kind of, bugged around with. But right now, before we have the day started, for all the new viewers out there, let's take a look at the format explanation as to how this year's PMPL is going to be panning out through. So as you know, teams have been divided into 5 groups each, and in every group we do have 4 teams that will be battling it out during the league days. Now the top 16 teams from the league days will be heading to the respective super weekends, and super weekends is where it's going to be a battle for 3 days, and that is where they'll be all battling it out, and the points that you sort of accumulate during the super weekend will only matter. And towards the end of the 3 super weekends that we have, the top 16 teams head into the finals, who will be contesting for this whooping prize pool of 1.76 Pakistani rupees, 76 crore Pakistani rupees. And well, if that's not some big money, I do not know what is, Lakshay.
Well, again, as you talk about money, we do have to mention that when it comes to the Super Weekend, every single team that walks away with a chicken dinner already has $500 in the bank. And that itself has been quite a big leap from the side of Quantum Rage, where they have been able to accumulate quite a big chunk of that bank, of that Super Weekend chicken dinner money.
Yeah, I mean, they've already managed to get $1,500, and that's a lot
Yes.
of money, almost around 2.4 lakh Pakistani rupees. And how did they do that? They accumulated a lot of points and got that chicken dinner. So if you are getting a chicken dinner, you're gonna get 15 points. And so what? The point structure sort of says that the points keep on reducing till the point where you, from 13 to 16, you get nothing. 8 to 12, you get just that 1 point. So clearly understood if you are the bottom half, you've got to settle with at the very best with just 1 point. So you've got to keep your focus, trying to be always at least around the top five to make sure you have accumulated a decent amount of position points. But now we're going to take a look at the squad rosters for this Super Weekend, as we do have Salt I8, amazing comeback. We do have Quantum Rage with us still on that TBD top position. Clarity Esports, this is also one of those teams that really made a comeback in that final game yesterday. As 52 Rage Esports, they're still somewhere down the line struggling to find their groove.
Absolutely are. And as we move on through to the next set of teams that are part of the Super Weekend, we've got Freestyle FS, who have had a wonderful run, is what I would say, when the journey started off for them. And of course, as the days have progressed on along, there's been a little bit of a hiccup situation for their side, but nothing taken away from their position, which is comfortable on the 8th as of now with 72 points. As we move on through to Team H2E, now this is a team that has definitely showcased a different resurgence altogether compared to the league play days, because this team find themselves on the second in the overall standings. 112 points to this team. The consistency from the side of H2E has been so very immaculate. On the other front, on the contrary, in fact, would be the side of FMXR3D, who yesterday, as I was talking about it, Erangel first game, they got a wonderful chicken dinner with 16 elimination points, but as the day progressed on, they were not able to sustain that sort of a lead for themselves.
Oh yeah, I mean, the consistency is somewhere they're still trying to find a good position in. Eventually, in the first few games of yesterday, we saw them really picking up the pace. For a moment, it really felt that this is the FMR3D that we were searching for, and it went on to the second game where they sort of ended at the fourth position with 6 kills. But there onwards, that is where they started struggling around in the remainder of the games. But as we move along, Magnus, Regicide, they all need to work out, all the 4 teams, in fact, 3x Esports, 4v even for a moment, I really felt, they were doing good. They were getting there. They did manage to get a second position finish in yesterday's third game, which was the second game of Erangel. But one look at the overall rankings before we have our first matchup of the evening getting started off. As you can see, Salt I8 making some huge strides as they've already crossed that 100 marker. And clearly, you can see that 63 elimination points, is something that all the remainder of the teams would be looking out for. They've been aggressive. They've always showed that sort of a compassion. But today, they've got to focus on getting a few more position points. And if they sort of maintain that consistency, Lakshya, I think they might just topple over Quantum Rage.
It is very much possible from the side of Salt I8, because the way that they've been able to play second day of the Super Weekend, it is definitely a resurgence from their side. As we move on through to the second page of the leaderboard, where we do definitely want to be able to see some comeback stories. Right off the bat, we're looking at 52 Exchange on that 11th position, along with Team TUF on 12th, and then comes the teams that you were mentioning a couple of minutes ago as well: Magnus, 4V, XTFT, Regicide, 3X. All of these teams, they are going to have to try their level best, because today is their final opportunity to be able to make that sort of a comeback story, not necessarily, but still get closer to the point structure that has been created on the first page.
Oh yeah, I mean, of course they will have to do, as we take a look at Team TUF, who managed to scrap off a chicken dinner yesterday, right? Just stealing it away from Salt I8 in the final game. Not a lot of kills though, but still, they're getting there. As long as you're getting those chicken dinners, you're getting yourself those 15 points. But as we take a look at how this team has been performing, Joker surely has been the standout player, accumulating 21 eliminations for himself, and not by far behind. We do have Edgar with 16 eliminations to his name as well. Now we've got to consider the fact that Joker has managed to get 21 eliminations in just 15 games played. So clearly shows that he's in here for some serious business. As you can see, the graph for TUF is steadily increasing, and hey, that's a good news.
It definitely is. I mean, we did see some resurgence as we were talking about it in the final game of Erangel yesterday, where they did steal, actually, literally, they stole that chicken dinner away. But nevertheless, I mean, they got those points for themselves. And as you so perfectly mentioned, when it comes down to the final game that they had, yes, that was good. Now, let's just hope this upward graph slowly and steadily keeps on progressing for this final day.
Oh, we certainly do, right? Because today's day has been about the the bottom order team, whether or not if they can get themselves back. But the glimpse at how TUF really performed yesterday, through in and throughout, finally finding that little bit of a luck around that final game, getting that chicken dinner. But this was abysmal, right? Literally. Especially 420 boy just could not believe himself as he was shot down right around and had to be punished, right? You just cannot expect to be walking off looting with full freedom, especially when you're dropping off at geological containers. That is one of those things that TUF did their homework upon, and well, this is the final game where they managed to wipe out the players of Salt I8 and secure that chicken dinner for themselves, a much needed one. She kind of putting a stop on Salt I8's mayhem yesterday. That 18 kills, second position for them, just denied that chicken dinner, but they're gonna be happy. So we've been talking about Salt I8 a lot, clearly being one of the fan favorite teams from the Pakistani region.
Right.
However, when I just got done with my cast yesterday, I sort of started to ponder, right? I mean, they're still in the contention, they're still in the race. I think the only thing that they're trying to look out for is get a lot of chickens, get a lot of kills for themselves. But
Yes.
we've got another team amongst us, Team QWERTY, who have been struggling a little bit lately. They've had their good games, but I think in terms of how they've positioned themselves, they certainly can do better.
They are, I mean, slowly but surely, they are improving upon their gameplay. There is nothing taken away from that, and that was clearly being showcased on the side of Destroyer, Wolverine, Gravity, and of course Khan being the IGL. Slowly and steadily, they are progressing on along. And when it comes to the overall storyboard itself, I mean, they find themselves on that 4th position with 92 points. So that clearly does indicate that yes, it has not necessarily been one of those teams that have had a wonderful run and have had chicken dinners with some amazing elimination points, but consistently they've slowly but surely been keeping the graph steady for themselves, rising up.
Oh yeah, and at this point, staying at the 4th spot is something Team QWERTY will not be happy about, because come on, teams like Salt I8 and QWERTY would want to be very up above the competition, right? And today would again be their day where they would be looking forward to it, as we take a few looks at how they performed yesterday. Really, yesterday was actually an improvement for them, right? Still, I think they are in pursuit for that winner chicken dinner. The best that they've managed is getting the 3rd position twice for themselves, out of which one came with 11 kills. So clearly, Gravity, a lot to see from this lad. I think all the fans are also waiting as to when will Rahman, or you can say Anaconda, make his comeback into the team, and that's long awaited, that's long overdue. But yeah, I think Team QWERTY, especially Destroyer, this one little play that he made yesterday really won our hearts.
Indeed, I mean, when it comes to Team QWERTY, we did initially see during the league play days that there was a little bit of a communication gap that was being showcased from that side. But in the Super Weekends, that has been definitely cleared up, and they are synergistically pushing on to create those fights and those opportunities for themselves. And of course, as you perfectly mentioned, I mean, Destroyer, Wolverine, they have definitely been in the top-notch form that now Gravity and Khan, they need to deliver along with the team synergistic play to be able to, again, I mean, nothing taken away from their play, right? They're on the 4th position in the overall storyboard. It is looking pretty comfortable for them for now.
Oh yeah, I mean, they're comfortable as of now, and
Right.
they would be looking to further increase their numbers. But there are still a few teams that we really need to talk about that have kind of taken a dip, and I think we've got to bring in
Oh, yes.
52x Rage over here, because they've been really aggressive. They've been taking a lot of fights. Clearly, Daku being the one who's been putting up most of the plays. But certainly, today their initial objective will be to get into the first half of the table. And I think one good game might just be the answer, because they're sitting at 64 points, right? The team
Right.
nearest to them is Team Clarity and Star and FS, who are sitting at 70 points and FS on 72. So just one little game, one good game will certainly propel them up to better heights, but you could see the performance seismograph speaking otherwise, right? There's one good game, and which is followed by either two bad games, or then we have another good game, then another bad game. So yeah, a little bit of a search for some consistency. Let's see if today could be the evening where they do find the same.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed for the same indeed, because again, when it comes down to 52X Rage's playstyle, we've seen them be aggressive stance, creating an aggressive stance for themselves, and they are able to deliver that sort of a massive blow that's required from them in that particular opportunity and position. But overall, when it comes down to the way that 52X Rage likes to play, is a very back-end approach, right? I mean, this is the team that wants to try and let other teams fight for as long as possible before they get into the fight, before they get into the zone altogether itself. And till now, again, I mean, nothing taken away from them. It has been slowly, consistently kind of keeping their appearances up. But overall, that kind of play style is not favoring them, because they rise up and then quickly they fall down to the second page.
Yeah, I mean, one of their most iconic situations or moments we can say is that little fight happening around that Paradise Resort area with Meteor Shot Sky. As they have been getting the better piece of the pie every single time they've come in onto the occasions. They've managed to take down or get the better out of Meteor Shot Sky. Yesterday, I think it was one of the players who made that huge blunder from Meteor Shot Sky, which really hit them right back at their face. But taking a look again at the statistics, you could clearly see, right, Daku has been the best player by far, and having 14 games played, managing to get 15 kills. Now that's a good feat for him. But the remainder of the team also needs to step up, and heading into the first game of Erangel, a few of the things, we've been talking about, a lot of teams have improved. Now, talking about teams like Freestyle, talking about teams like Meteor Shot Sky, today is going to be so important to get their ground back, and the same can be said for the grounders as well. They started off the day on a really good note. I think they were in the top 3 position, and since the 8th game, we did see that a little bit of a dip in the performance. But as we take a look at the schedule for today's evening, it's going to be the same for throughout the Super Weekend. We're going to start off in Erangel, then move on to Miramar. We're going to have 3 Erangel throughout the day. The 14th game is, of course, going to be Sandhawk, in which we really expect a lot of unexpected things to happen. And yesterday was one of those moments where Salt I8 finally managed to get that chicken dinner, get that extra $500 to themselves out of a match which nobody has a lot of expectations from, especially in Sandhawk, and they took early casualties, right? They lost one of their players. Despite that, they still came out through. But taking a look at the Wrangle map chances, we do have Quantum Rage being really consistent, right? Even in terms of if they're not able to succeed with getting a lot of kills, they somehow make up for it in terms of the position points that they accumulate.
Absolutely do, every single time, and that is nothing that all the other teams are doing wrong. It's just that Quantum Rage are able to better grasp the opportunity and be able to read that zone when it comes down to their rotations itself, and that is definitely favoring them. But today, once again, I mean, as we've been talking about it throughout the Super Weekend, today is going to be the day of comeback. Yesterday was a day of comeback, and definitely today will hopefully not be any different. I mean, we've seen the likes of TUF, 52X Rage, who are slowly, steadily trying to climb up the ladder. For the likes of FS, Clarity, things have gotten a little difficult, not necessarily difficult is not the right word, but yeah, it's gotten a little bit of a stalemate situation is what these teams find themselves in. So today it is open to, I mean, anybody's prediction and guesses, because I am definitely rooting for an aggressive lobby right off the bat from the first game of Erangel itself.
Oh yeah, I mean, considering the first day of the Super Weekend, yesterday's start was a little bit slow, so we've got to see as to how the tempo is going to be in this particular matchup, right? And where the circle is, because the circle, I believe, has been dictating majority of how the game's pace is going to be. As if we get a certain circle, a lot of teams are going to be rotating early on. We're going to witness those skirmishes happening really fast. But if it's going to be some sort of a Gatka default circle, or maybe around the eastern side prison mansion default circle, then things are going to be a little bit different, because you have a lot of compounds to save yourselves, survive till the very end. Teams will then kind of be a little bit skeptical about trying to go in for a push. But one thing that we've learned from this region is they're not scared of taking fights. They're not afraid to do that. Every single moment they get the chance, they jump on and grab the opportunity.
every single time. I mean, no matter what the team is, either it be H2E, either it be Quantum Rage, or on the other front from 52x Rage, or 3x for that matter itself. I mean, we've seen when it comes down to utilizing on those opportunities, all these teams, they are very well equipped. It just boils down to the zone, as you so perfectly mentioned. And again, when you talk about the zone, yesterday, dude, when it came down to the final map of Erangel, right, the zone definitely had a different mindset. There, it was chaotic. It was a chaotic game, the final game on Erangel yesterday. And I'm hoping, I mean, this is something that me and CA yesterday spoke about as well, that today being the final day of the first Super Weekend, every single game that we've got, every single time, we should have a zone that is absolutely absurd. That is going to make this lobby aggressive and fight that much more, I think.
I mean, we'll find out, and let's head in directly as the flight path trajectory heads in from Feripe towards shooting range. So a lot of teams that tend to go towards Yasnaya Polyana, especially teams like Quantum Rage, now they will have to take some second thoughts at that. However, Clarity, they've got to make sure that they come up with a plan as to how to deal with TUF. And for sure, one thing out there, 420 OP boy is not going to be coming in alone today, because if he does, he's going to be in for a bashing out around here. But from what we can see at this moment, nothing has really changed, right? The ground is heading towards Primorsk, and yeah, of course we've got freestyle around that quarry area, and we've got to see as to where the first fight is going to be erupting, as 4VTFT and QWERTY nearby to each other. But QWERTY is again one of those teams that we have seen they love to head towards Lipovka and have one of those players stationed at the western side, just towards the east of Mansion Building, that little compound area that we have. But well, again, a default Gatka circle is right in front of us. Regicide right at the middle of things. They have to make sure that they get themselves looted early on, and a good compound to work around with. As for now, Saltite, they're going to make sure that they're going to be looting a lot faster. And this is where, I would suggest get your loot done really fast and quick. Head inside the circle, hold a good position. Eventually, they're going to find a lot of kills, but still yet to see what their approach is going to be. As Team QWERTY, they've been taking a longer parachute traveling distance, as Gravity right on finding the vehicle spawn, as he will get along with his teammate Wolverine, and would be heading towards Lipovka. That has been the go-to approach for the boys. And now this is where the concern really arises, right, Plotter? Because for the fact, they've got to be on, they're going to be heading towards that eastern side. You've got to go there. You do not have enough time, because in the next a minute and 30 seconds, this zone is going to shrink in soon. So we're going to be expecting, the boys from QWERTY to be having a little less loot compared to the other teams in the lobby, who are really comfortable inside the zone. They're enjoying that moment. And for now, let's see what can these boys do. But for TUF, it's going to be Edgar just looting around the Western Georgia Paul city, rather, as my eyes are really searching for 420. This time he's got some company, right? He's got Danny along with him. So
Exactly.
Team Clarity, they're going to be making sure, Lakshay, that they watch out for TUF, or maybe they be the ones aggressing at their direction this time.
It could be. I mean, we did see in the clips as well when it came down to 420 just being unaware of the fact that there is a team that is going to be close in the vicinity. And that was, of course, the side of TUF Edgar and his teammates, who were just completely thrashing 420 and did not let him even get an opportunity to retaliate. And that is something that, of course, we do see the approach from the side of Clarity is going to be based on that particular fight altogether itself. But apart from that, I mean, apart from these two teams being so very close to each other, all the other teams, they are pretty much fanned out for now. When it comes down to those early contestations or drop locations, I mean, we're looking at a couple of these teams who are actually creating a two-man split. Magnus, 52x Rage, easily. FS, they've got a very fanned out approach through Feripe all the way down to Primorsk, where they're trying to retain as much information as they possibly can sitting on those hills.
Oh yeah, I mean at this point, this is where you gotta start floating around the circle, right? Because inside you inside the zone, you've just gotta make the right call outs. You've gotta make the right timings. You've gotta choose the right compound and just pray to dear Lord that it really works out for you. But
True.
for this team, Meteor Shot Sky, one of the major issues that I've been witnessing is that they tend to head in very late inside the circle. As a result, yesterday in one of those games, they went in so late and they had a fight in which they got instantly wiped out. So that is not a good news for them. Quantum Ridge really just beside the circle is, and they're gonna have no issues rotating in if FMR3D decide to gatekeep them. That's gonna be a different story otherwise.
It definitely could be. But again, I mean, it seems like Salt I-8, as we look on towards the military base, they seem to be on the move. They seem to be making an early rotation. See, maybe, okay, maybe not. Never mind. But that would be lovely to be able to see from the from the side of Salt I-8, because they need to change that sort of a strategy by sticking to the edge of the zone. They could maybe try and just completely overturn that, and try and get into the zone early. And that would allow them to, because again, so many times we've seen Salt I-8, when they try and make those late sort of rotations, stick into the edge of the zone, and then they try and find a compound, they almost always are caught off guard and end up losing the battle because they don't have the safety of the compound as their opponents. On the other front, it seems like Freestyle is having a little bit of a vehicle issue, and Wasi, of course, no problem at all. His teammates are going to be around to give him nothing. Actually, there's no lift that's going to be allowed right here, because it is going to be
All
troublesome
right.
for them to actually get this thing fixed.
Yeah, now it's just gotten worse. But
Oh
hey,
no!
it works. It worked out. A
Engineering
little
to
bit of
another degree,
a
dude.
yeah, hey, in this game we're not gonna question the physics of things, right? Now
No, no,
freestyle
no.
is
I'm
one of
talking about
those.
engineering. I would have
Yeah.
never, honestly, fixes. If I had that vehicle that was upside down, I would have been like, all right, my game is done, dude. I cannot do anything. And look at the resilience from these dudes.
Oh, I mean, they don't give up, do they? But one thing with freestyle, I think it was during the PMSC, the boys were having fun. They were just using the glider and just hovering around the map. And we would love to see a glider, especially in the PMPL, right? Gives you so much of vision, gives you so much information to work around with. Of course, does come with a lot of setbacks that you become the delicate darling high up in the sky, and with the way these players are really adept at their shooting skills, they might just go for a bird hunt and they're going to succeed at that. So you've got to take your trades properly. So let's see what, or rather, if we do get to see a glider in this one. But yes, Salt I8's Crypto, one of the best players that Pakistan has ever produced in quite some long time, has been struggling in lately with a little bit of form, especially in those close win situations. But still, one of those players that you can always rely on, as
Right.
he's slowly but surely getting there. But we do have some initial skirmishes, some kerfuffles happening between FMR3D and 3x Esports, as FMR3D wanted to rotate inside the circle. They meant no harm, but were caught by the players of 3x Esports.
See, this is the second or the third time that I'm looking at when it comes to 3x Esports' approach to a fight. Ali is the man who always goes out for those flank angles. And he is, I mean, again, nothing taken away from the way that the team is sitting on the leaderboard, but the play that they're making, that is top-notch, crisp and clean. And that is how you're supposed to be able to create those sort of angles to be able to take the fight in your advantage. So that is commendable, of course, but somewhere along the line, overall, when it comes down to just from one game to the next, sticking to that rhythm, that is where 3x just completely loses the momentum, sadly.
Oh yeah, I mean 3x Esports, I think their primary issue has been with the positioning points, right? Nothing else. I think in terms of taking fights, they have been looking sound. They've managed to pull off a lot of disappointments, and they've got that little bit of a rivalry going on with the players of Salt I8. Now they might deny the fact, but we've all seen that. There's been so many occasions that they've been heading along fighting against them, and somehow they managed to tend to meet against each other. As we speak, we've got the first airdrop right in front of us. It's going to be the AWM, as Teen Wolf would be right walking at Thor's direction, this time being a little bit careful, but 420 boy, he is going to be kicking himself in the foot as he gets knocked down right out in the open, and Danny, he's gotten in to get that res back up. But TWEP, this is the moment which they should really capitalize, and they're not doing it.
Well, they're taking it slow and easy. I mean, they do know exactly where the opponent is, but it seems like the site is going to be an issue where we do see a red dot being used from the side of Joker. So we did see Edgar try and bring in a little bit of, I think it was a 3x that he had, but yeah, that does make a little bit of a difference as well, right? If you don't have enough information, even though you've been able to get a player knocked, you end up double questioning your own self that should we not, should we not? And those couple of seconds itself is what the opponent needs. And that is where Clarity, of course, were able to get that revival done. And no team stays the wiser as no elimination was confirmed for any of those teams.
Yeah, I mean, somehow they've managed to escape, and yeah, I think Clarity will be breathing a sigh of relief over there. But Malik finding
Uh-oh.
Shaw out over here as yet another casualty for FMR 3D, as they were just trying to, traverse around. Still, this time as well meant no harm really, but being caught off guard by the boys over there from Freestyle. As Malik is going to try and get Pika as well, as he's going to pepper down a couple of bullets. Nothing really connecting, and now it's a wise decision just to back off, get yourselves a good position, find some decent cover, get yourselves maybe to a higher ground, somewhere around a little bit of a dip. And that is what the intention is going to be. But for Pika and Finisher, they've been dropped back, or they're playing on a back foot right now, as they've got to focus a lot on those position points in this game.
Absolutely, just a two-man squad from the side of FMXR3D. They tried to recreate that sort of a playstyle that they had in the first game yesterday. That definitely not working in their favor. But now, as you perfectly mentioned, it is all going to be based on how long can they survive. Because once again, I mean, we're 10 minutes, 11 minutes into the game, and we still have 16 teams alive. Only 2 players have been eliminated in this battleground. So still a very slow-paced gameplay showcased from the entirety of the lobby, and rightfully so, because this is the third day of the first Super Weekend, so they knew what is at the stake. And with that, in the mini, Sensei, the Grounders player, is just being so very cheeky. He's got the information, he's got his teammates set up as well, that they are not going to be pushing on to those triggers as of now.
Look at how they've positioned themselves.
Right?
Sixer could do better with hiding his buggy a little bit if he wants to maintain that stealthy play for him. But this is a replay as to how Anubis really got caught off guard, and he was in such a dire situation, could do nothing about it. A little bit of a glimpse over at Edgar's knock on 420 OP boy as well, as things did not work out then and there also. But Malik making sure gets the better out of Shaw, as we do have QWERTY this time getting the better out of 4v Now this is again another of those rivalries that we've been witnessing for quite some time. As if my memory serves me right, it was yesterday where QWERTY again wiped out the entirety of 4v somewhere
Yep.
around that particular area.
That is true. That is so very true indeed. Now, I'm not sure if it's a rivalry or not, but again, if at all there's anything to say for the side of 4v XTFD,